Here we go. Jeremy Boudnais. It is 2025. It's January 3rd. We Really Mean It is back. Episode 4. How are you doing?
I'm great, buddy. I've entered 2025 with the new alter ego. D-bag Jeremy has arrived. Full villain. Going full villain for 2025. New year, new me.
We didn't make it 30 seconds in. We didn't get through the intro, and you've announced some type of nemesis, alter ego. I'm not even exactly sure what D-bag Jeremy is. I'm assuming you're going to tell me. I'm assuming you're going to let the people know what it is that you're leaning into the new. Some people have they've got they're doing manifesting. They've got
Yeah.
resolutions.
Yeah.
You have what is it that you're having?
I believe it was Carl Jung who talked about the shadow self, BT, and the need to embrace it. And that's what's happening here in 2025. I've already announced to my coworkers that D-bag Jeremy has entered the room, and D-bag Jeremy wears Gucci loafers. He, is prone to talking shit. He's
Does he
seeking.
do?
Go ahead.
Is he speaking in third person a lot? Is that part of the deal?
Yeah, he speaks in third person pretty much all the time. Constantly making enemies, seeking to make enemies, which is part of our topics for today. I did watch The Apprentice on Amazon Prime, which I highly recommend, which is about Trump and his mentorship with Roy Cohn, and just gave me the masculine urge to have my own Roy Cohn enter my life and just mentor me in the dark arts. So that's where we're at.
I didn't think that you guys were in the Roy Cohn thing. I thought that was kind of like a denial thing.
For the Trumpers, the Roy
Yeah.
Cohn thing? Nah,
For you people.
What I love about that show was it was clearly trying to paint Trump and Roy in the most villainous ways possible, and just made me love them more.
It's like when you watch this is how every time I watch The Big Short, and who's the dude who's the sales guy,
who
does
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling's character, and he does the whole pitch, and it's just the cheesiest, worst thing ever, and you're like, that's the star character. He's the hero of
He's the
whole
hero.
movie.
Exactly. No, anytime Hollywood tries to, I really do fall in love with the villains they try to create. Another example is The Boys. Homelander's supposed to be this evil villainous character. I fucking love him.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That is, you're taking it too far now. Homelander is the outrage on Twitter of people being wait, is Homelander making fun of us? Over the last 2 years, as people have realized that.
Yeah, I know he is. I know it's Hollywood propaganda, and so very not subtle Hollywood propaganda, which makes me love him more.
It's not even propaganda. The writers were they thought that people would pick up on it. If I understand that correctly, I'm not the deepest follower of The Boys, but I think I'm up to date. I mean, they were shocked that people didn't understand he was the bad guy. People were he's awesome. They're
I love.
They're I'm so glad he got a love interest in Stormfront.
Stormfront, yeah. Well, it's just hilarious because it's oh, the good guy's the CIA dude. The CIA are the good guys. It was kind of like they did Madam Secretary when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. It's we all see what's happening here, guys. This is all intertwined.
Obviously, the CIA is the good guys. We talked about this. You're already on this team.
I'm gonna quietly disagree with you on that front. Although I do think there are good people in the CIA, but I won't say the CIA is inherently a good thing.
We'll turn you around. It'll take time. We'll get to there by episode 5 or 6.
It's quick. Okay.
We're on 4 right now, and we've got a good slate. We've got a kind of an interesting couple slates that have circled in. We're entering a new year, and I think one of the interesting things post-election, not that this is politically, but there's certainly, now that that's over, we've turned the page, and maybe this is just new year, new whatever, but it feels like we're in this like American dynamism, like all
Mhm.
these
Yep.
techno elite people who are kind of becoming part of the apparatus in Washington. Certainly feels like there's this energy about like American business, true or untrue. Like that's at least the branding, and I like seeing it on Twitter right now, which I think is in many cases even like opposing people who were opposing each other pre-election are now like, hey, we're just gonna like go for it in 2025 and whatever going forward. I like that. I feel like that's a thing that's happening right now for however it's happening, and it got us thinking, it got me thinking about like, are we turning the dial on PG Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator? My, you know, when we were getting the startups, you and I in 2000 aughts, 2010s, like it was certainly the vibe was like not about becoming wealthy. It wasn't like
Mhm.
you're doing this to become rich. That's like a byproduct. It was, I think PG, if he were to summarize it, he would always say something to the effect of like, you're doing this, you're making something people want. And typically the idea looks bad at the beginning. Like you're making something that people are like, why are you starting a sales gamification company? Why are you doing a text service? Like whatever. It's supposed to
Mhm.
be this like goofy, silly thing. And I wonder, do you still think that advice from, I'm guessing he said that. I mean, I was aware of that in 2012 ish. Do you think that's still the advice of like making something people want, but also the comma of like typically the ideas look silly? Or do you think we're reaching this different thing where it actually is about like go build wealth?
It's a great question. And I think there's a lot of Silicon Valley that still focus on like build something super out there and something that's like very like futuristic. They're all obsessed with AI and it's interesting. I think as far as why a lot of founders are getting into it these days, I do think we've seen more and more wanting to get into it to get rich.
Yeah, I
those
agree.
people those people tend to fail
I
because
agree.
if you want to get rich quick, don't go build a tech startup.
Go
It's a
work on
it's
Wall
a
Street.
go work on Wall Street. It's a battle. It's a freaking siege here. And I think the guys that make it are the ones who are uniquely built for it, and they are obsessed with the idea of whatever they're building, and they believe in it, and they have this just ruthless sort of commitment to winning at all costs. And you brought up this idea, and it actually made me think about why do I love startups and why did I get into startups? And what I sort of settled on was that, I love the idea of being part of an elite team that's doing something like epic, like the epic journey, if you will, like, the hero's journey. Think about like Lord of the Rings or like all these like, any like famous, I mean, whether it's Star Wars or like any of these other ones that are like, sort of telling the story of a group of people trying to accomplish something huge. And usually in my life, it was like I relate to like sports teams or like bands that like start up and like, change the world.
There's a
But
great corollary between bands and startups. Like, I think it's an understudied, under talked about angle. Sorry,
so,
continue.
no, so under talked about, so understated. You're talking to someone who's a huge music history aficionado, has read tons of books about like different music scenes that sprung up. And there's so many similarities where usually it's a hotbed of, sort of artistic talent that gets together and they all encourage each other and they have these very unique ideas and they sort of sprout and then spread. And I think startups are like that too. And so where I was going at was that I don't have the athletic talent to play pro sports. And I don't have the musical talent to be in a band, but I do have the God given like writing talent and business talent to like be part of a startup. And so there's fun and there's like this joy that I get every day working at a startup, even though it's super hard, even though it's super challenging, it'll challenge every part of you. But that's what I love about it. And so the money's a byproduct, but you actually have to love what you do every day. I think that's where it goes back to, I think, Paul's original idea of like build something people want, something you're obsessed with. It still has to be that for the ones that win.
I think you're 100% right. And I like changed my mind. Once again, like there's this dynamism story going on right now. And I was like, maybe this is a different thing. And I'm going to pinpoint, like, I think that there is an optimism for whatever reason. I think there's a variety of reasons to be optimistic right now. And so I do think you're seeing people taking chances and
Yep.
like doing things again that I think post the funding deceleration that happened kind of at the end of 2022. I think it was just like this really abrupt decrease, and everyone went into like grind survival mode. And I think that a lot of people flush out the ecosystem or just disappeared, companies, founders, whatever. And it feels like now we're kind of on this other side of that where people are like, let's build companies again. And in many cases, let's build companies in America, whatever. I think it's awesome. I think you're right that like I hope that we're not going too far on the spectrum of like people who just want to get rich. I think in the two times I remember that being like the most unhealthy is maybe the way I'd call it. And you may agree or disagree. Maybe I pose it to you this way. The first like real tip of the spectrum where it was like everyone and their dog is getting into startups in our career was like every fucking dude who went to business school was like starting like a mobility company with scooters, and it was like every scooter company in every geography was raising like hundreds of millions of dollars. And like it was just, I mean, I remember going to a meeting as a SaaS company that was growing, that had good margins, served big customers. And the VC we were meeting with was like, I just did a handshake deal on some scooter company in LA. Like I don't care about enterprise software right now. And I was like, I mean, it was one of those where like, do you remember this period?
Yeah, I vividly remember it. What was that like? Was that like 2018, 2019?
I was thinking
Some
2016, 17, something like
17?
that.
Yeah. The scooter craze. I do remember 2016. I remember because also that was when crypto started blowing up.
Yep.
And I do remember it was wild because I even like my girlfriend at the time was like, who was not in tech, had no tech, just besides what I told her, was like, are we investing in crypto? And was
Are
like,
we big step
we
on we?
yeah, it was a wee thing. But like I mean her dad who like was like a, auto sales guy was all about it. So it became this tech suddenly. I felt like crypto, you associate with the scooters, I associate with the crypto surge. I felt like it suddenly everything that was tech got lumped into that. And it was like, shit, we can make a lot of money by doing a startup or doing crypto or doing whatever. And that was back when, I was 2016 was like very hot times in the VC world. I feel like really 2016 through 2019. And I remember that's when it seemed like everything started blowing up.
I feel like the other time where every person in the industry was just trying to get rich, and I think it proves Paul's point of like the worst actors possible being involved was NFT craze. Like
Yes.
when the NFTs started and really proliferated, maybe was like we are in scumbag central. We are in the epicenter of scumbags just selling PDF pictures to people, being like, I changed the hat,
I,
it's worth 47,000 Ethereum. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? What's happening right now?
yeah, I think it goes back to there was no intrinsic value in those things. And there's no intrinsic value in a lot of the shit coins, right?
Well, there
And
wasn't even like a to your point of like there wasn't even like a desire to make it have an underlying intrinsic value. Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like it was just like I can make PDFs and I can put
Yeah.
them in. I can I can
I
sell them on the internet.
I know guys who lost a ton of money on NFTs, by the way, which is
Well,
hilarious. Like,
R.I.P.
yeah,
Not to bring up painful saga for those dudes, but like you know it was it was scumbag avenue.
it was. I agree. I think the more detached, the revenue opportunities get from like the actual add value to society aspect of a business or an industry or whatever, the more dangerous things become, I
Interesting.
would say. Yeah.
I,
Like,
I,
I mean, go ahead.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about like I wonder what do you think that thing is like now or coming at us? Like, what's the thing coming at us where 2 years from now we're like, dude, all of the people doing this were full of it. Is it AI? Like I don't feel like we're in AI. Like AI still seems interesting to me. Like there's still it seems like there's real value creation.
Yeah, I think AI is. I mean, some of the tools I'm using, they're AI powered are great, and
Yeah,
like they are going to actually. I think the danger is them wiping out jobs for
right.
people. It's going to displace a lot of people are going to have to adapt.
They gotta
You
have
know,
podcasts. They've gotta have podcasts like us
they do, they do. So,
and alter egos.
and alter egos. You can't, it's I don't know. Maybe I could just have a debag AI alter ego or something like that. But
Jeremy GPT can't keep up with the levels
GPT,
of egos that you have.
you'll have to stay one step
The,
ahead of the AI.
it's trying to predict what you're gonna say, and it can't keep up with the multiple personality disorder you're creating intentionally.
That's right. It's the mental illness is actually going to keep me ahead of the game. So yeah, I don't think it's AI. I don't really know what. It's a good question. I don't think. I mean, crypto is always. There's always something with crypto.
Right.
There's you're playing the most dangerous game with that. I do think some coin. I mean, I get Dogecoin updates all the time on Reddit, and it's fascinating because like I'm like, I should be investing this shit because they're saying these notifications out to everyone, just creating FOMO left and right. And I'm sure people are investing just like because they're getting like notifications all the time. The
It's
hey,
insane. I don't know what
yeah,
like Doge is the great example. I mean, Elon had Butthole Coin the other day that
yeah,
he was pumping Butthole Coin, and I was like if if we're in a simulation, this is how you can tell we're not in a simulation because like the simulation couldn't come up with
no, it could.
arguably right now the most powerful person in the world. I would just put money on is kind of just running pump and dump schemes on like a coin named after a dog and butthole coin. That's he could be either he may be in a meeting hanging out with the future president of the United States, and he's like, "Watch this."
Exactly. But he's also launching rockets. He's also got, a
All at the same time,
Cybertruck.
right?
He's also threatening to come in and dismantle 30% of the government, which I support. You cannot you're right about the simulation. This is the simulation where we need people like that to like keep disproving the existence of a simulation because it's too weird. Too
It
weird to
dis
be fake.
it it grounds you in reality.
It does. It does. The most absurd. It's too absurd to be computer generated. So
um, that's so good. I want to. I want to spend some time on the nemesis or
yeah.
your alter ego because you said this earlier. I forget how you phrased it, but basically like the need to be hated.
Mm.
To unpack the importance of being hated. What is that? What is you?
Yeah. So I'm actually the premise for this topic. This is from one of my all-time favorite articles. It was written by Chuck Klosterman in Esquire magazine, I believe in the late 2000s. And Chuck Klosterman, if you guys never read him, he's a great like essayist writer. Was like, Bill Simmons like sort of affiliate, so really fascinating guy. But he wrote this article and I actually agree with it. And I've seen it quoted a lot of times or referenced, but it basically argues that like you need to be hated. Everyone overvalues friendship and being liked, and you need to really start to value being hated and disliked more. And I've seen people talk about this on Twitter and stuff where they're like, the more, if you don't have any enemies, what kind of man are you? You're not standing for something, And so I kind of agree with that. But the thrust of Klosterman's article is that you really need two things. You need a nemesis, you need an arch enemy. And he goes into like great detail on this, which is really funny. So your nemesis is like someone who's kind of like, you could call him a frenemy. It's someone you would maybe go out to dinner with, but like
You
you
somehow
secret.
compete with on like social status or something.
Exactly, exactly. And he has this great point where he's like, women really know this better than men because like any woman you talk to has like can name her nemesis immediately. Like it's probably like her best friend. And then you need an arch enemy, and your arch enemy is someone who you would never go out to dinner with. You would like, run over them with a bus if you could. Just someone you loathe and who loathes you. And yeah,
This is this is fascinating because I do feel I'll speak from experience, and I really want to get yours here. But like when I have in company building, in like actual company strategy, and we can tie this back to the PG as well. Like, I think the YC, the YC Bible, if you will, is like, don't pay attention to your competition. Like,
right.
solely focus on improvement of your product, improvement of how the users feel about what the customer feels about you. But I do think there's a real tangible um, kind of energy when you are like, we are going to go just fucking destroy this company for whatever,
Yes.
like, even if it's a sprint, it's like, hey, these people, this company is, better than us at X, so they're winning this type of customer, or they went and stole a customer from us. And you go into like war mode, which I don't think is the way you can continuously run the company, but like, there have been, which I won't name, there have been three leaders of companies that we've competed with over the past decade. Yeah, and I'm proud to say none of those three dudes still run this company. Like, I mean,
That's right.
we made like especially Jared and I would be like, I want to crush them. I want to win. And I don't think there's spending a ton. We weren't spending a ton of time being like, you know, what's so and so thinking, what's so and so doing. But anytime they come up, it's like, how do we annihilate them? Tell me how this is, you're manifesting this.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly who you're talking about, and I think it's the right energy. You nailed it about having a certain energy around it. So what you don't want to do, which I think is what Paul Graham was talking about, is you don't need to like worry about their tactics or their marketing strategies or their like product strategies. Like fuck all that. What you need to do is just hate them and want to kill them. And
I like
so,
this.
yeah, so like you don't spend much time worrying about what they're like. I didn't worry about like what Level 11 was doing or what Hoopla was doing, what Rivalry was doing, what Fantasy Sales Team is doing. RIP to all those companies.
Wow.
I just set out to massacre them, and then that's what we did. You
Well,
know,
and it's a great point with the energy because like, and those are, excellent run through of a list of companies that we competed with, especially early on when we were kind of nobody. But yeah, it's not about like volleying back and forth, like tit for
no,
tat. They do this, you do this. It really is like, if you can harness that energy of like, they're good at X or they're beating us in Y, and for us to beat them, these are things that have to be true. These are the things that we have to go execute. They don't have to be comparable. Like, it's not like they have this feature, we need this feature, but it's like, I despise them. I despise hearing them winning this deal or stealing this customer. Like, it's unacceptable.
yeah, and it's the energy I've seen at other companies too. Like when I joined Nextiva, like the very first meeting I took with Yaniv, he just talked about how much he hated Ring Central. He wanted to kill them. I asked, what was it? I was like, what's the future holder for Nick Steve? He just looked at me. He goes, war. I was like, oh my gosh, bro. Like, yeah. So,
There's something so energizing, and like, different company leaders have different ways of doing this. But when a company is like truly like, we're going to war with someone or whatever, not like we're gonna create this market, we're gonna like, you know, do this cool innovation. It's like, we're going to go win this thing. It's like, oh my God. Like,
yeah.
back to your like elite team of people who are part of something. Probably not the YC way right there, but man, it's cool to hear about. It's cool to hear about
It,
people who are in those type of like, especially historical. Silicon Valley stories like the Browser Wars. There are a
Yeah.
ton of good ones, which is like Andreessen. I mean, before that, those guys were at HP, I think, when they were basically on like the um, they didn't call it laptops, but it's basically like personal computer war.
Yeah. And that's how Luke got me to Tesla, by the way, was he pitched, we're gonna win this entire market. We're gonna take over this entire industry. We're gonna destroy all these other guys.
Yeah.
And I don't think he knew it, but that was like the perfect thing to say to me. Because I was like, that just spoke my language like to the core of what I was doing. So and I've always been energized, even watching other people compete, like Chorus versus Gong, Sales Loft versus Outreach. I mean, we
Yeah.
can remember. I mean, those are in our sales software space, but they were epic battles. I mean, like
Oh
these
yeah.
guys were going. It was cool to watch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, the importance of being hated. It's a great thing, and I think I encourage everyone in the new year to figure out your nemesis and your arch enemy, and then
What a positive message for the people out here listening to We Really Mean It is go find your nemesis. Go find
yeah,
an arch enemy.
you need one, or else what are you doing? You're just kind of like just floating around in life. Pick something, you even create a d-bag alter ego. That's what, if you really want to get advanced with it. So
I mean, it's kind of, if you don't have an enemy, as the kids say, you're kind of like an NPC right now. Like you're just
ooh,
floating through. Like there's no one even cares to like kill you. You're just like,
yeah, you really are. You're an NPC, and you gotta be a main character, bro. Every main character in every movie ever has something they're up against. Conflict is the heart of every good story.
oh
So
man, I
yeah.
like that. I like that a lot. Speaking of conflict, well, I'm not sure how much conflict we're going to have here, but I know we want to. You posed an awesome question the other day, and we'll just dive into it because as if people are going to go into war mode, which I hope they do, into nemesis mode, I don't think there's any better soundtrack to the nemesis mode than emo. In my opinion, early 2000s emo. And you asked me what the Mount Rushmore of emo albums, which I think the people have asked us to work more emo stories into this podcast. I'm going to flip it to you first in a limited amount of time. Give me your emo Mount Rushmore.
This is a great, great question. And yeah, I
It's
have.
your question. You came up with the question.
It is. I'm D-bag Jeremy complimenting myself, of course. I love emo. I've been an emo fan for 20 something years. Big like genre enthusiast. So, and we're at limited time, so I'm gonna plow through these. So I'm actually gonna share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. So let's go with this. So can you see this, BT?
I can see it.
So
Epic
we're gonna,
album cover too.
yeah, epic album cover. So emo, some people discard it as like a whiny bullshit genre. Not true. There's some phenomenal albums in here. So my emo Mount Rushmore, I'm gonna go. There's actually they span 16 years. I'm starting with Where You Want to Be by Taking Back Sunday. Their absolute best album. Perfect track listing. You've got the first 5 songs are all just bangers. I would go running at the gym and just listen to this whole album all the way through. I'd take a break during song 6, New American Classic, which was the soft, pretty song before they got back down to business and just were cranking out classics. So, great album here. Highly recommend. My next album, I'm going with Torrance, California's Finest, Never Hungover Again by Joyce Manor. BT, this album is 17 minutes long. It is
It's
so,
the songs are such bangers.
it's
It's
such
fast.
it's fast. My church I went to, I lived in LA, was in Torrance. And I would literally drive around Torrance just thinking about, oh my gosh, Joyce Manor are from here, which is how much of like an emo stan I am. But a great album, phenomenal. This is a fourth wave emo, as they would call it.
Little
My
tinge of
next,
mental illness right there, but yeah,
yes,
there driving
definitely a
around
tinge.
Torrance.
Yeah, absolutely. Third album, which probably you, me, my brother, and one other guy I know probably know this album, but it's Goodness by the Hotel Year. Bunch of naked old people on the cover. This is an incredible album if you're looking for more upbeat emo music. Goodness Part 2, I think, might be the best emo song of all time, the opening track.
So good.
So good, man. And you and I both love Two Deliverances too, which is a great song. And then my fourth and final emo album, I went with one that probably people don't know, but it came out literally, I was bumping this right when COVID hit. Melee by Dogleg. I think the kids are using the term crashing out nowadays to refer to people who are just like losing it and like falling apart. And I would describe this album as like this dude, the lead singer, is crashing out in every single song, and it's epic. Like he's just having meltdowns in every song, and it's fucking awesome. So, highly recommend Melee by Dogleg. Great workout album. Too. Most of these emo albums I'm bumping, I'm trying to work out too while I'm listening to them. So, BT, let's go to yours with the time we have left.
Well, I want to hit something because you're actually what's notable about you is and I saw this before we got on the pod today. Like the science says that your music tastes basically lock in your mid teens, which is very interesting to me because you have a wider breadth of music, same genre, but like you've followed more bands throughout the course, whereas I am like the definition of that study, which is I think typically between 13 and 17 is like where you like lock in your music preferences. And you know, we'll put some covers on the pod, but I'll go chronologically.
Go ahead.
Number one, or not number one, but released in 1999, Through Being Cool, Saves the
Oh
Day.
man,
Just a classic emo, pre screamo, pre like ultra, you know, 2000 plus. What happened? Just old school, fantastic. Followed by chronologically, The Art of Drowning.
AFI.
Just like, I mean, look, it's got skeletons. It's like this 1990s punk art. Davey Havoc is, I think, at the peak of his powers before he discovered like digital music stuff. He's doing backflips in the crowds at this time.
Mm-hmm.
All time, I mean, scariest person in this genre of music for a while was Davey Havoc before he fully black tatted all of his arms and body. Uh, um, not least, but I think this was where a lot of suburban kids in the U.S. really connected with emo music was Tell All Your Friends, Taking Back Sunday, 2002. Kind of, I'd say, like the broaden the aperture of emo music to an entire generation of kids. And then the all-time greatest album cover, in my opinion,
Yes.
a haunting album cover, honestly. New Jersey's Finest, brand new, 2006. The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. Just, I mean, a multi-sense masterpiece. Not only audio, visually. Yeah, Rushmore, for sure.
I co-sign all of these. You know, Through Being Cool was like one of my top 2 most listened to albums of last year, according to Spotify. So,
which is last year is in 2024.
That's right.
Like you have to be in the 0.0000001% of people who listened to Through Being Cool last year.
I was. And I joked to my brother. I was like, I'm 38 years old because he asked me to share my Spotify Wrapped. I shared it, and he was like, "Bro, what's happening?" I was like, "Dude, it's not a phase.
It's not a phase. It's a lifestyle."
Yeah. I'm gonna create a playlist with these albums on it. We'll share it in the description of this.
I love that so much. Well, dude, this has been great. I'm about to go bump your Joyce Manor album during a workout right now. Keep it light, but speedy, and this is fun.
Yeah, great time, man. Good discussions. You know, I'm just glad that D-Bag Jeremy could show up for this.
Are you wearing the loafers right now? Are the loafers on?
The loafers are not on. These are I've got the black loafers right here, but the Gucci red and blue with the skulls and the wings I'll have those for the next one.
Yes or no, is the haircut part of the new persona?
Yes. Great question. The answer is I like short. I'm a short hair guy now. I try to keep the long hair going, but
this is a new deal. You got the touch of gray on the sides, the trim up top. It's a mean look.
It is a mean look, buddy. So I'm
Fort
leaning
Worth
into
Fort Worth is not how I feel.
They're not. Wait till I get a pair of cowboy boots, and then it's really going down.
Oh my God. You're totally you're zagging on like the lettuce in the back, the wisps on the back. You're like, I'm all in, buttoned up. Miami Jeremy. The
My
Miami Jeremy might be what we start calling you.
it really is Miami Jeremy in Texas. I'm wearing loafers. I've got the short hair. I need to go get in some scams, and then I'll really be good. I'm too legit right now.
Come out with an
Um,
NFT drop.
That'll be the next move. The
The
D-bag
pod
Jeremy
will be
NFT.
releasing some NFTs, and we'll be pumping the shit out of those. So y'all
I'm
just
so,
start buying.
I'm so down for a we really mean it NFT of you. It's just you and me. Just
It's in Microsoft Paint, and we're just putting different colors on different parts of the picture, and it's tokenized. You can't reproduce it.
4,000 Doge, and it could be yours.
We're about to pump the shit out of it.
Right.
All right, man. Well, thank everyone for listening. We appreciate you. Listen to some classic as well as fourth wave, fifth wave emo shortly. And as always, thanks for joining us.
See you guys.
We really mean it.
We really mean it.